Hello and welcome to the Dr. Kirstin Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kirstin Lauritsen, and today we are going to talk about something that actually came up this past weekend that I felt would be a really good share. Here we talk a lot about getting to the root of burnout. We talk about the journey back to your body. We talk about remembering that you are worthy. This is what we do here. It's really about getting to the root of any problems that we have. I typically tend to focus a lot on health conditions because I am a functional medicine physician, as well as I work with people in that realm of just healing chronic conditions and chronic symptoms. But today, and we'll actually talk about quite a bit of that today, just because one of the things that came up for me this past weekend was that I realized. Um, Gosh, it just hit me so hard. Um, and I do believe that if you're listening to this and if you stick with me, that I think you're really meant to hear it too. But I noticed in my voice, like a tone, even like a texture that felt really off. And I noticed through some awareness, like it just hit me because I was like looking at something and I was thinking about what I would say, and the like literally what I heard was this like tone of desperation. And I was like, oh, like it just like hit me. It like landed like in my body and in my mind. And I was like, whoa, that was a huge undercurrent, right? Of like really what I needed to hear right now to really help things shift and change. Um, and as I was like reflecting on this and thinking, like, my goodness, that is such a huge thing to be aware of. I also realized I was like, okay, that's what's coming up for me right now. Where in my past have I potentially seen this before? Because, like, right, you might be new here, but for those of you that are not, you know that the subconscious mind creates everything between 0 and 8 years old, usually between like to be like 0 to 5 is when we've experienced most of the things that we are going to then play out into our adulthood. By the way, all of it can be shifted and changed. You're never locked into anything. But um that's usually when everything begins, right? Is between those ages, because our brain is in like a hypnotic state, right? So it's just taking in the information from everywhere, and then eventually it starts to create meaning that we start creating beliefs, we start storing emotions, we start doing all of these things as a way of how we are interacting with the environment in the world around us. And then what ends up happening is then we start creating our realities based on the things that we learned when we were younger. And so some things turn out really well because we learned beliefs that really served us well, and then some things did not, right? And then we end up on journeys, if you choose to heal a lot of those, if you choose to see it that way. I say it that way because there are many people who have like chronic health conditions and things like that, and they never get to this point of learning and looking deeper, right? But for those that are called to, you do end up on that journey, whether you kind of choose it or not. I think you do choose it, but it kind of chooses you at the same time, just like it does in like as like an entrepreneur or in business or anything. Like you have to do these things, right? You have to grow, you have to expand, you have to change in order to really be good at what you do. So I just remember feeling this desperation. I mean, it just resonated so hard because I was like, oh my goodness. And I realized there were many times where I felt it. And it came from a lot of a place of like, I just want to get out of this problem. It wasn't necessarily from a place of wanting to prove, although I would say that that did exist for sure. I really wanted to prove that I was worthy. I wanted to prove that I was good enough. I wanted to prove that what I had chosen in life was worth it and that I was right. I mean, like that's the truth, is that I really wanted to prove that by choosing what I did, that I did the right thing. But I remember feeling this so much when I was like really at the lowest point. I mean, there were many, many low points, but I remember just feeling like with the endometriosis and the burnout and the migraines and the anxiety. And I was also at that time too, there were many times where this showed up, but the one time I can really remember, I also had like basically daily hives. And so basically at like 4 p.m. every day, it would start showing up, and then I would just become itchier and itchier and itchier like throughout the evening. And I just remember before going to bed, just like scratching my legs practically raw because it would either start from like the bottom of my spine and my back, or it would start from like my feet and work its way up. Is super, super interesting. But the things that I really remember thinking were like, my body is failing me. I remember I never re although this does resonate with a lot of people that I work with, I never really felt like my body was broken. Um, but I do remember thinking like that no matter what I was doing or trying, like it just wasn't working. And at that time too, I was taking like antihistamines, and doing some of the things. And also too, for those of you who've had like endometriosis, like I was taking like 4 Advil a day on like the big days because it was just so painful. Like, ouch, like and I just remember sitting there and thinking like, there's I remember also thinking too, like I really wanted to get better, and I thought that it would be possible because like I saw evidence, like people have done amazing things, right? And they were saying that it is possible to heal. I mean, I had a degree in chiropractic and in functional medicine, and those are the tenets, right? Is that people can heal, like the body can heal itself. And so like, but at the same time, there was also oftentimes so much doubt. I felt like the hole that I had dug was just so deep, like it was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna really be able to like get out of this. And like, could that even be really possible for me? Because all of this stuff has happened. And I just remember thinking like, maybe I'm not right. Like maybe I can't heal. Maybe this isn't for me. um, and starting to doubt whether my feelings of that like it was possible. I just remember really, really doubting that at a certain point. And that's when that like desperation would come up, and then I would like be searching for like, okay, what's the next thing? And who's the next person I can work with? And um that was how that like came up and came out, was through this desperation to get better and to heal and to feel better, which makes sense, right? Like it at times it was so painful. I mean, the migraines in and of itself were awful. Like I would lose parts of my vision. I would like like it was just the pain of it was awful. Um, it would stop me from being able to train. And I would even sometimes get migraines when I was training, like for triathlons and stuff. It's just really, really not fun. And then of course too, the endometriosis side of things was not great either. But the thing that would even made it even worse, I would say, is that so many people also didn't get it. They first off from the like autoimmune or like the chronic symptom standpoint, when it's internal, right? Like people can't see it. Like they can't see a broken bone, or they can't see like that you're physically sick, like with stuff draining out of your nose. And like, people get it, right? When that happens, but they they don't always get the chronic symptoms because they can't see the fatigue internally. They can't see the burnout. They can't see the like getting lost in anxiety and worry and like they don't a lot of people don't even know what it's like to have like a migraine and then to have a prodrome, right? Or where like you lose parts of your vision. Like they don't know what that's like. Um, And even further than that, too, when I decided to go to like, I'm just giving you building the story, right? Because if this resonates with you, you're likely gonna um, have my point in telling you all of this is that hopefully it does help you if this is something that you've also been experiencing, or maybe if you haven't. The thing that I've realized is that like when I listen to so many different people talk about their stuff, it actually shows me where I might have had that as well, right? So The another area where this showed up in my life is when I decided to actually go to chiropractic school. And what I heard was, why not just be a medical doctor? And that was really hard to hear, right? Because for me, the beliefs that I had was that my worth was tied to my achievements. So was going to chiropractic school something that I felt in my heart, right? Was something that I wanted to go and do because I felt this was the best way that I could help other people through what I had experienced. And I had just experienced this profound way of healing. Like it was already helping me with my migraines. My endometriosis pain was so much better. While it wasn't gone, it had significantly improved. And I was like, this is it, like this is helping people heal. Like this is what I'm here and meant to do. And then to be faced with this, like, well, why not go be something different, right? It like, first off, not very validating, right? Secondly, not good enough, right? Holding a particular type of medicine to a higher degree. Um, so many things. And then on top of that, right? Like I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be heard, and that like it just those weren't good enough. So then So then it set me on a path, right, of wanting to prove, literally trying to prove that I was good enough and that this path that I had chosen that was based on something that I knew deep down was something that was a path of where I needed to at least begin, right? I don't do that anymore, but like and it might come back, who knows? But at least on the path of where it was, like I can see now reflecting back that was the place where I was meant to begin, starting from that place of and just I just see it now of like I really was trying to prove that it was a good enough choice and that it was in alignment for me, and that not only was it a good enough choice, but then it was also uh good enough in the sense that like I could also be very successful, right? I could be monetarily financially very successful at it. And so then that really hit like really triggered a lot of choices to wanting to be better, be bigger, do more, and more and more and more, and more was never good enough. Because the root of where it all was coming from was not good enough. And that wasn't from that conversation, right? Because that conversation happened when I was in my mid 20s. That before I had learned any of this stuff, right? But that conversation was stemming from like I could have had that conversation, right? And if I didn't have the underlying belief that my worth was tied to my achievements and that I wasn't good enough, then that conversation would have gone a lot differently and would have produced a different outcome, right? Instead of me hearing, oh, I'm not good enough, I could have just been like, oh, that's actually very affirming. Why not go be a medical doctor? You actually, and I see this now through this lens, right? Which is because of the healing that I've done through this, but like the layers upon layers, like here we are again. And I know I've heard so many people sometimes say like, how much more work is there? And like for me, it's as much work as it takes until I get what I want, till I feel better. But that's what it's kind of like, right? And anyway, so it could have gone a lot differently, and I could have heard that message as coming from their lens. They did see that, becoming a medical doctor was actually better, that it was held on a higher tier, and they saw that for me as being someone who would be capable of becoming that. So why not go for the highest? And for me, I never saw the alternative medicine with the conventional medicine, which is what terms that people typically use. Like I never saw one or the other as higher. They both exist on the same plane in my view, right? Is that like every single thing that we have here are systems are meant. Yeah, now I will say that there's some, funny business on both sides, but when people go in to be doctors or in the health field, they're usually going in because they want to help people. So no matter where they're coming from, I do most, I would say, like a large majority of the people go in really wanting to serve, right? Really wanting to help people. And they have different methods of being able to do that. Like you're not going to come see me if you have an emergency. Like that's not the I am not the right person for that. And I am not going to be the one to keep you alive, but I am going to be the one who helps you work through those chronic conditions and the things that are not acute that functional medicine and these other areas of growth and these journeys and digging deeper and going into the beliefs and the things that go on behind that and underneath all of that. That's what I do, and that's what I do the best, right? And not coming from like, I'm not saying that in arrogance. Like, that's just my wheelhouse. That's what I have walked through. That's what I have learned. That's like all of these things that I have collected, over time have really been for me, and then also hopefully to and I do get to see this often with clients, but turning around and serving that and giving that to others, right? So when I started hearing that like desperation in my voice, I stopped. I said, holy smokes. And I didn't judge or shame it. I didn't, say that like, oh my gosh, like how terrible is this? Like how bad are you? I just noticed it and I sat with it for a bit and I said, okay, like this is what's happening here. Let me just listen. Let me just see where this is coming from. Let me listen to my own voice. Like, let me just listen to what is happening here. And I immediately knew what I needed to do because I knew that once I had the awareness, this is always the thing, right? It's like once I had the awareness, then there's plenty of things, there's plenty of choices and options that we can do with it. But we need the awareness of it. And it's all coming in its own timing. Yeah, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine last week, and I was like, it just doesn't happen fast enough. Like, I want this to be here now, but you cannot force the stuff. You cannot force the transformation. You cannot force yourself to see or hear things that you aren't ready for yet. It's literally happening in the perfect timing. But the messes that I've created have generally happened when I have been trying to force something into existence or to happening faster than I'm actually meant, that it's like actually meant for me yet. And I smile, those of you that are listening versus watching on YouTube, like I smile because like I just know. And it's always so interesting to me too, because when it comes, like when you get that awareness, it's like, oh, like that was meant for me. That was meant for me to hear today. And I also talk about this too because like unlike what we would all like to see or have, right, is this like, okay, give me all of the steps, point A to Z, and I just want to know like, okay, what's the next thing that I do here? And then what's the next thing that I do here? Once I get A done, then I do B. And then once I have B, then I do C and then D. And it does work like that in that sense, but we can't map out specifically like, okay, we do this gut protocol first, and then after that, we do this. And then after that, we do the next thing. It more looks like what is your path? What is your journey? What is it that you need to learn? And very much so, it becomes a self-guided journey. It becomes the journey that the subconscious mind decides to take you through. Because when you decide and say, okay, like I'm done with this, I'm ready to change, I tell my clients all the time, or like on a consultation call, I say, if you are not ready for a full life like change and transformation, like we are not a good fit. Because as much as like you want to come for the thing that you want help with, there's so many other areas where it's also showing up in your life, and there's so many other areas that also probably need to shift and change as well, that you are going to get a full life transformation, especially too if you're wanting to change your health, right? Everything at the point that you get the result that you want will look different. It will look how you want it to be because you are going to create it, but it also means that you got to be willing, right, to see that change through and to be willing to change. I'd say that was one of like the biggest things for me is that like I hated change when I was younger, And yet now I embrace change so much because I know that if I want what I want, change is going to come with it. And when I get to consciously choose what I want, that was the thing is like the reason I hated change so much is because my unconscious mind was doing so much of it based on the patterns and the conditioning that I had learned. And so then the change and the things that would come with it, it wasn't, I couldn't control it. I didn't like it, you know, and so, and then also sometimes the results were like definitely not what I wanted. So this gave me in some ways back control, but it also gave me the ability to let go at the same time, realizing that I can also create what I want, but also be flexible at the same time. Two things that I find very helpful in parenthood. And that I also teach inside functional motherhood. But I think those things are really, really important. And then I pulled up. So when all of this happened, I basically was like, okay, now that I have the awareness, I had a couple of choices. So one, I felt like I already had done a lot of the belief work. So that's what we do inside of the breakthrough session, which used to be called Worthy. It's now called the breakthrough session. And essentially, that's where I knew like if I needed to shift a belief, then I had that there and accessible to me. And I also have my coaches and all of that. So like I have people I can reach out to if I need help with those things. But what we do inside of the breakthrough session is essentially give you the tools to be able to shift a belief in real time. Like you walk through it by the end of it. I also walk you through exactly how to get to it, and to also recognize the typical roots where most things come from are going to land in either I'm not worthy or I don't deserve it, or I am not capable, like I can't have what I want. Somewhere along those two. And those two beliefs are usually at the root of most of the challenges that people face. And so inside of that workshop, I literally help you shift to the root of those beliefs. It's one of the first steps to take to get you started. And so I had that choice. I could either do that one or I could do also the 6-part reframe that is in the free, it's the bonus to the free guided meditation that I have as a free gift. And so I decided to do that one because I felt like that one would be the right fit. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And I met the part of me in that meditation. It brings out the part that basically created this, whatever it is for you, whether it's the desperation, like wanting so badly to get the results. Like if it's a different part, it can be used for that as well. But I met that part of me that felt like she had to hustle and to push and to perform. And even deeper than that, this part really was creating the desperation because she wanted so badly to be seen and heard, but also it was safer not to be seen and not to be heard. It was safer to not have it. Even though we were so desperately wanting it, it was safer to just stay where we were comfortable, where we knew. And that also, if I asked for help, if I asked for what I needed, that those things weren't okay, or they weren't listened to, or yeah, like they just weren't listened to, right? No action was actually taken. And the best part, and I love this about this work, is that like you get to be that parent for that little kid, that version of you that created this as a way to keep you safe. You get to help that part of you heal. You get to say, like, hey, it's okay. And then you also get to integrate it. You get to shift from desperation to confidence. And it's not performative, it's not pretending, it's literally an inner knowing that basically says, like, I am safe, I am worthy, and I get to choose from love. Hmm. I am safe. I am worthy. I am loved. And I get to choose. It's my favorite. And integrating that and seeing those two parts come together is just such a beautiful experience, knowing and realizing that we are creators, right? We are creators of our life, um, women and men, but women particularly, we create life. It's just, there's so much power there when we really embody and realize that, like, that is what is possible for us. We get to choose, we get to create. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're in that place of burnout, pushing, proving, overfunctioning, overgiving, maybe you also have those same symptoms as I did of, right, fatigue, pain, anxiety, or maybe you also identify with that feeling of desperation, right? Of just like you want something so badly that you would do literally anything to get it, including getting yourself into a big mess of all sorts of things, right? Like you would do a lot of things to get it. I really want you to know something, that it all makes sense. There's reasons why you are where you are. There's reasons why you are dealing with what you're dealing with. And number one, that is like literally the most important, like, oh, my body is just getting like, I feel this deep like excitement in saying this, but also like this needs to be said. Like, your body, no, number one, your body isn't failing you. It's communicating with you and it's trying to protect you, especially if you've had chronic symptoms for a really long time. Your body is literally trying to do the best it can to keep you safe and to help you survive. And secondly, you are not a failure. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not defined by your failures. You're also not defined by your successes either. Like, you are literally worthy as being who you are. But you really don't have to stay in survival mode. And you don't have to keep proving your worth. I know I tend to talk to quite a bit of people who are high achievers, or you have some kind of big thing in your life. Like you might also be a mom or a parent, but you also like want to do something pretty, like, maybe impactful, or maybe you just have a career, or you just know like there's more, there's something else that you want to do. Maybe also you really just want to be the best. I would also align with this as well. Like, I want to be the best parent that I can be, right? And I do believe that the more work that I do, the better I'm able to parent my kiddos from the, like, to their what they need, right? Because the less that my stuff gets brought into it, the better I can show up for exactly what they need, so that then they can, move and really uh, learn to be who they're meant to be. But I also want to make sure that I really feel like the best way for this to really come back, right, is to basically say, like, look, there is a way. There is a way to inner peace. I read this one time in a book. I don't remember what book it was, but it was like the goal in so many ways is to create an inner resting place. And like, it just resonated so much with me because I was like, oh, that's it. Because like when you're anxious or depressed or worried or just constantly in this place of pain and burnout, like, internally, it does not feel like a peaceful place, right? Like, for many people, just when I give them a tasking or a homework session to just sit with in silence for 10 minutes, it's so uncomfortable because they can't get their brain to shut off. And the best part, on my favorite, some of my favorite testimonials that I have are when people have said, like, I don't have that like monkey mind anymore. Like I'm literally able to sit for 10, 30 minutes, an hour just with myself and like be at peace. Oh, that's my favorite. There is a way back, right, to connecting with yourself, to hearing, to listening, to hearing your own voice again. It's to listening to what your body has to say and what it's also trying to tell you. And when that gets opened up, I do believe that's also when we really start listening. That's when we start hearing like this is the next step. Here is the next place you need to go, which is exactly what, came to me this weekend, right? Is like, hey, next layer, here is what is coming up for you. It's so beautiful because in those moments that that was the message for you that you needed to hear. It's it just sinks in differently. So look, if this spoke to you today, I really invite you to start with the same meditation that helped me to come back to myself. I built, I was so surprised, right? Like I created that meditation. I created the first one to really just help you shift out of, if you are like in overwhelm, in burnout, you're just in those phases of just like, there's just so much happening. I wanted to create something that you could listen to so easily in just under 5 minutes and be able to just shift out of that energy so that then you could go do whatever else it was that you needed throughout the day and not be in that energy, right? And I know that the more often that you do that, that it's over time, it's going to help you feel better. Now, it may not get to the root of where all of the patterns are coming from, but I do know it's a really good starting place, right? And I do believe for people who are busy and that have a lot of stuff going on, like we want and need sometimes just a small tool that just gets us through, right? So I created that for that. And it's totally free. There's a link in the show notes for you to go and grab that. So you'll get that return meditation, but you'll also get a bonus meditation as well, which is the 6-part reframe. And it is really designed to help you shift that inner pressure and reconnect with your worth. And that is under 15 minutes. Now, that also is a really good stepping stone to then the breakthrough session, right? So that session, that workshop is a little bit longer, but it also shows you it's another really good stepping stone to getting to the root and showing you how we kind of do that and we really get to that root belief and then shifting that belief so that you get to not only see what that's like and get to see the magic and how it shows up in your life, but also because I believe it's a really good place to just get started. Sometimes taking that first step is all we need to just get the momentum moving and then going from there. So I would love to hear if you do go through those, either the guided meditations or if something in this episode really resonated with you. I would please leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you and I'd love to hear what shifted for you. So many big tools even in this episode here that just even having the awareness and just sitting with it and just saying, okay, like I got it. This is something that I really needed to hear today. Like just having that awareness alone can be so powerful. So, thank you for listening. I think that's the best place to maybe wrap this up. I just want you to know because I needed to hear this over and over and over again, it felt like. But for those of you that are open and ready to hear it, like you are not broken. You are, I would, I, I wrote, you are not broken and you are becoming, but I almost feel like the better is just like the one that always comes up for me is that like it is going to be okay. You are going to persistence, right? For those of you actually here, I know. For those of you who have been on this journey for a long time, it took me 2 decades, 2 decades of having endometriosis to finally find some of the solutions for that. And for those of you who are like really in it and you're in the middle of it, and it just sort of seems like you don't really know what way is up, and it seems like you've dug the hole so deep that it's like I don't know. I don't know which way is up. You're not broken. You're not broken. You've got this, and it's going to be okay. Those are the things that I needed to hear. Those are the things I needed to know. Those are the things that really helped me realize like, okay, I can do this, and I do deserve to have what I want and to stick with it. In a sense, it's like a perseverance, but it's a more of like just keep putting one step in front of the other. Keep going, keep going. Because the steps do become clear, right? They do resonate when you are listening for them, they do resonate. You hear it and you go, "Oh, that was for me," right? And then you know, kind of like a deja vu moment, like, "Oh, I'm on the right path." That's kind of like that inner knowing, right? Of like hearing, like maybe if you heard something here today of being like, "Oh, that was for me." "Oh, I got it. Oh, I heard that in a different way this time." That's what it feels like when you get that like inner knowing of being like, "Oh, got it. That was for me." So if you have one of those moments, I would love to hear about it. You can send me a DM on Instagram or comment down below if you'd like, and just let me know. And if you liked this episode, it's always very, very helpful if you would like and subscribe and share it out. On your socials or to whomever, because it does really really help me out, and it does help this show get out to more people so that we can also serve and help more people as well. So thank you so much for listening today. As always, it's a pleasure, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, take care.